considering all of the things that Mr. Combs has done in his life, it's really not that much of a distinction between what a whole lot of us either do or think of doing. Now, of course, a whole lot of people are not going to agree with that, but we're still dealing with the demonic forces that are within all of us, and some of us choose to execute those, and some of us choose to not execute those. And it just so happens that Mr. Combs felt as though that it was okay for him to execute his demonic side simply because of his wealth and his so-called power. You know, a lot of people were saying, well, you know, he was a powerful man. And to me, considering the actions of Diddy Combs, he was a very weak man, morally. I mean, there's a whole lot of people who have accumulated a whole lot of wealth, you know, financially, but they're bankrupt morally. And that was Mr. Combs' issue. Now, as far as the time that he's currently serving right now, and considering him having children and considering the short time that he has in prison, I look at this as an opportunity for him to go through a time of redemption. You know, it's easy for a person to say that I've changed, you know, when they're under, you might as well say, duress, or when they're scared and humiliated and everything. You know, but actually what I've learned in life, while you're going through the trial of redemption, that is just a period of shaping and molding you to where after that, a period of redemption is completed and you go from there. The results of that particular time is going to reveal if you've been redeemed or not. During this time, this is a time to where he's going to have to face himself. You know, of course, apologizing to all of the people who he hurt and all of that. Maybe that's just a desperational plea in order to sway the judge to set him free, which is not a form of redemption. You know, he said, I've been on drugs for 24 years, and now that he was incarcerated, the drugs are out of the system, and now he's, a lot of people say he's back to being himself. No, he's not back to being himself. He's in a state of desperation, humiliation, and other matters, which has put him in the position to where he is pleading the judge for his freedom, you know. But from studying a whole lot of people like Brother Malcolm X and other people who have suffered through the prison experience, a whole lot of people find their freedom while they're incarcerated. And the only way that you can determine if they found their freedom in the midst of being incarcerated is their actions after they are freed from being incarcerated. So hopefully Mr. Combs will honestly use this time in order to face himself, even outside of his apologies to everyone. His apologies to everyone is good, and that helps a whole lot of people heal. But during this particular time, he has to face himself, you know, and really deal with himself one-on-one. And that is what's going to determine if he will develop into a better human being or not. What I've come to notice through this entire trial with Mr. Combs, and considering the video that I previously made when I spoke about everyone deserves redemption, I find it a lot of people today are in opposition of people becoming better. When you speak on the common human being, regardless of what he or she has done, everyone deserves redemption. And these are the same people who say that they are quote unquote Christians or Muslims or whatever religious sect that they belong to, or even if they consider themselves just spiritual, and yet still understand that they did not create themselves, and therefore they have acknowledged in them understanding that they did not create themselves. They acknowledge when they say that there is a creator in which created them, and therefore whatever they want to call it, a creative force, or they acknowledge that there is a greater presence in which gave creation to them as human beings. I say that because these people that I'm speaking of, in knowing that there is a greater presence in which created them, they would like this greater presence to guide them in a way to where they are convinced to fully submit themselves to righteous actions, so that after this organism has done its time on the planet, that this greater presence, this greater force, this God, or whatever they refer to it, to accept them or accept their consciousness to the degree that they will be invited into this place that a whole lot of people call heaven. The Christian calls it heaven. The Muslim calls it paradise. The spiritual people, based upon this doctrine of spirituality, call it the greater place, or the greater realm, or whatever you call it, whatever you refer to it. However, in hoping that this is where you will end up, it is basically saying that you hope that you become successful in the current state, that you may be able to graduate into a greater state. And therefore, you are talking about living the life journey after you've understood that there are going to be some mistakes that you're going to make. There's going to be some things that you're going to do that are going to be displeasing to this greater force, and you are going to be giving a certain amount of time to, within that time, make corrections and therefore redeem yourself, so that when this organism does pass on, you will be graduated to a greater form or to a greater place. You find a lot of people wish that strictly for themselves. However, when it comes to observing other people's lives and you see the mistakes that they make, and they are put in the position to where they have to face themselves, these same people who would love to be graduated to that next realm or place, as I've spoken to, they don't want that for this particular person. Mind you, I'm talking about Mr. Combs. Now, Mr. Combs have done a whole lot of evil things. He is a rich man. However, he's morally bankrupt. However, he is still living. He is still living, and he's been made to be limited to the degree to where he now has to take the time and face himself. Now, a human being like me who believes in the plight of redemption, because I went through it, is hoping that he takes this given time to him to redeem himself in order to become a better human being. And the reason why I feel that way towards his lot is because I feel that way towards not only my lot, but all of your lots. Everybody deserves redemption. However, we're living in a world today to where everyone wants to suddenly cultivate this God concept to where they want to totally condemn another human being as irredeemable or doesn't have the right for the movement of redemption. You know, this is the type of world that we're living in today. Now, I didn't get any emails that were disrespectful. You know, most of the emails that I observed today were in agreement, you know, because a lot of people understand the power of redemption and how self-observation and self-analysis and what that does for the human being. It makes the human being better. And so once the human being becomes better and he or she is released back out into the world, it makes the world a better place to exist. However, we have people who get up every day. They have the privilege of leaving their homes, going to work, and you know, these people are so-called free. These people are so-called free. However, they carry within their hearts this rigidness to where they say, well, I hope he rots in prison. I hope he dies in prison for what he did. I hope something terrible happens to him in prison. And these are the same people who will tell you that they believe in the reality of karma, wishing death on people, wishing that certain things will happen to certain individuals because they dislike what that individual done to other human beings. However, they don't recognize the importance of people being put in the position to where they can no longer perform those things or hurt other people, and yet still they are in a very short time span on this time that they have away from the rest of the world. My whole take is utilize that time for self-analysis to make yourself a better human being. I mean, some of our greatest people who we look upon as leaders who spent their time in prison, like Brother Malcolm, who I had mentioned in my previous video. And there's other brothers, Tookie Williams, you know. A lot of people find their freedom while they're incarcerated. freedom from the self-destructive mind. Now I understand that Tookie didn't make it out, but Brother Malcolm did. But at least Tookie Williams, if I'm using his name correctly, he did go through a time of redemption in which they made a movie about it, starring Jamie Foxx. And when Arnold Schwarzenegger denied him through the system to continue his life, at least when he left this planet, or he was forced to leave this planet, he was at peace because he had redeemed himself. He went through the plight of redemption. So I bring all of this up is because it is important for us as human beings to understand the importance of giving more time to redeem ourselves. And as I always go back to, when Yeshua was suffering on the cross, he felt God's anger and God's wrath. And he read into the Creator, and the Creator was getting ready to wipe mankind out. He was getting ready to wipe mankind out again. And so because of this, Yeshua has said, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." So we were given more time. So you were saved by grace. You were not completely saved because you still have to face a judgment day. We still have to face a judgment day. So there's a whole lot of people that's going around saying, "I'm saved," and once saved, always saved. No. The pastors lied to you. The church lied to you. We were given more time for self, that we may go through our own time of self-redemption and self-analysis, that we may redeem ourselves. This is why he said, "Go and sin no more." This is why when you look in the Old Testament, it's a whole lot of young people saying, "How come God came down for Elijah and Moses and all of them?" God showed himself. God was present. Well, God was present through Yeshua. And he came down and he gave the message on how to become better human beings. And humanity disappointed the Creator again. And so the Creator was getting ready to wipe us out. So it's not that the Creator has abandoned us. We have to deal with ourselves now. So the Creator is not going to reveal itself the same way that it did in the Old Testament. We're on our own now when it comes to redemption, moving forward and choosing to go against our own plight of self-destruction. When he says, "Go and sin no more." So stop your plight of self-destruction. And considering everything that's going on with this Diddy case and the way that it has affected a whole lot of people, it seems as though to me that a lot of people have forgotten that if they were in that position, or if they put themselves in that position, whether they realize it or not, you would have to take the time to look at what got you to that point. And from your self-observation, in which got you to that point, you are going to have to make adjustments. And making those adjustments is your self-analysis and your decision to become a better human being, which is redemption. Every living human being is giving a chance for redemption. It is the grace period that Yeshua had spoke of when he said, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." So the Creator backed off and gave humanity more time to redeem him and herself. And this is why the scriptures says that if you would turn from your wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven, forgive your sins, and heal the land. That's what it's about. It's about redemption. And those of you who assert or think or feel as though he doesn't deserve redemption, I think that is a important time for you to take a very close look at yourself. Because every human being on this earth deserves redemption. You deserve it. I deserve it. We all deserve it.